going to get into a little basketball talk right now. We've been talking a lot of football. We had some Husker talk, Oklahoma Sooner talk with Scott over there. And listen, it's time. Fall is here.
Yeah.
Baseball has arrived. Basketball has arrived, I'm saying. The schedule has been released. We're going to talk a little non-conference, but also the conference schedule has been released as well. Some of the things to note, they're going to play some tough games, Nate, when I look at it. I mean, it's not how you can kind of just get off to that start and just kind of, work your way into it. You're going to be tested a little bit. And I love that they're getting a chance to play UNO November 10th. I think I'll be at that game. That's going to be one. Maine comes in town November 7th. But here's when the test starts, November 17th. They get a week of preparation. November 17th, they'll find themselves in the Gavitt tip-off games, where they'll be at St. John's, which is always going to be tough out there with the Red Storm. And then they'll come home on the 20th, face Arkansas Pine Bluff, tune-up game for around my birthday, Thanksgiving time frame. They're going to play in the ESPN Events Invitational, where they're going to face Oklahoma. Go figure, right? They're going to face Oklahoma, which is one of those, tough Big 12 team, always plays really well. They could be hit or miss. Porter Moser gets those guys going down there in Oklahoma and Norman. But then they'll play the winner of either Seton Hall or Memphis. We may have a Penny Hardaway. May have a Penny Hardaway sighting at the ESPN Events Invitational. And then we'll start get the ACC Big Ten Challenge. We don't know how that tournament will end up on the 27th.
Who did they get?
They landed Boston College.
Okay. That's not a terrible draw.
Not a terrible
Boston
draw.
College isn't very good. That's not a bad draw.
And then we get Creighton on December 4th at Creighton up in Omaha. Yes, it's a must that I be there to see that.
I would assume you'll be there. You'll be there for that one.
And then we find ourselves Big Ten kicks off.
Okay.
Big Ten. And this is where we start. I mean, listen. You're starting off the Big Ten, and this is not a tough start to the Big Ten. You're at Indiana, and they got Trace Jackson back, and they're emerging. Coach Mike's got them, they were playing pretty well towards the end of the season. They were in that kind of play-in tournament game, didn't play very well. They struggle shooting, but they have strong inside presence, and they just will beat you up inside on the boards. And that's a tough start. I think it's going to challenge everything that Nebraska did wrong early on in this test with regards to rebounding, finding guys, putting bodies on guys, securing possessions, and playing solid basketball. But you're at Indiana, so you're hitting the road first game.
Yeah, going to Assembly Hall too, which is never an easy place to play. What I want to ask you, I want to dive in a little bit more to this Big Ten schedule, because I think there's something to be said for the start of the Big Ten schedule. Because you saw Nebraska, they started off terribly last year. Do you think Nebraska is going to have, I don't want to say culture. I don't think culture is the right word. But you saw last year, it was Bryson McGowan's and kind of everybody else. And maybe that was a little bit unfair to Bryce, but he was the 5-star. He was the guy that everybody wanted to see. Like, it was Bryce. You don't really have that guy in the locker room.
That's a good thing.
Do you think that's something that the team can take these first non-con games? Because like you said, there's a couple tune-up games. Do you think that's the opportunity to build that chemistry? Because that's something we never really saw last year.
Yeah, I think it is a good thing that guys sometimes leave, and then it would have been good to have him back. But
right, I'm not saying that. Right,
what it creates is this little void in the hierarchy where then you're not looking around for it, but who's going to step into it? Who's going to step in and be that leader? One of the things I did notice when I was going over to watch them some in the off season, and they're still playing. I'm going to go back over there and watch some more. But I saw CJ Wilcher, and I saw him lose weight. So he's understanding what he needs to do and to become better and to be that leader. I saw him shooting the ball, creating space, very vocal. So those are some of the things I was glad to see come out of him, because you lost a lot of your leadership. Verge gone, Mayan gone. McGowan's gone, Trey's gone, all of them, right? So it created this little void. You've got newcomers that come in, but they're inspired. They were running, they were active. You got still a leader in Derek Walker that's still there. So whether he's an impactful leader, but he's definitely a leader by way of his communication and the way that he talks and the way that he speaks towards that team. I got a chance to see Blaze Keita. Blaze Keita looked very good,
That's good to hear.
Inside.
Right.
Short jumpers, his back to the basket, putting bodies on offensive rebounding. That's something that we didn't do very well last year.
Right.
So he's one of those type of guys. So it's good to have those type of games to start off, and those challenging games, because in preparation to lock in for the Big Ten is going to be something that's needed. I love that they're going to play any one of those teams in that ESPN Events Invitational game is going to be tough. Seton Hall, Memphis, Oklahoma, any of those. I mean, two of them are dang near. I can't remember if Seton Hall got in. I think they did. I think that's 3 NCAA teams.
I think
maybe Seton. So if any wasn't in, it was Seton Hall that was out. So it's going to be interesting. Even the Big Ten Challenge game, we haven't won one of those. We came close last year with NC State. Should have won it.
Should have won
that game.
That game was garbage towards the end, honestly.
Yeah, man. Terrible the way that they played. But I'm looking just for good basketball, good, solid, all-around, team-oriented basketball. And that's what I'm hoping to see.
Well, what does that look like? Because we talk about the brand of football in the Big Ten. And I think Big Ten basketball has a little bit of the same feel, like play defensively, like play as a team, like don't foul in inopportune times, which we see Nebraska do all the time. Like you look at Indiana, Purdue, Iowa, Michigan State, Minnesota to start out the season. Those are your first 5 games. They kind of, I'll even throw
Illinois, Kansas State. I mean, it ain't gonna be easy.
Right, and it's like all those teams kind of encompass that grit. That you're going to play sound basketball, you're going to play defense, and that's how you're going to win basketball games. Do you think that's Nebraska's brand of basketball? Because we've seen this, they try and play the running gun, they try and shoot the three-pointer. Is that really what's going to be successful here?
I think for them, it's going to be, in the best way I can explain it, they remind me of the team when I was with Boston. Now, granted, let's not be ill-minded and saying that there's Paul Pierce on that team and Antoine Walker. Now, I'm just saying
stars.
Collectively, that team was kind of a bunch of gritty, grimy, hard-nosed guys. And what we did was that team was picked to be last in the East. And we ended up third with the second best record in the East. And it was all because it was team oriented. There were games where I led the team in scoring. There were games when Kenny Anderson led the team in scoring. There were games when Tony Battie was dang near leading the team. and that's what it was. Yes, we knew Antoine. Yes, we knew Paul. Yes, they were our guys. But at the end of the day, it was movement. It was in sync. It was defensively. It's like when you knew you got beat to the baseline, or when you knew you was running a pick and roll defense, or you were downing a pick and roll defense, that you knew your guy was there and you knew what his assignment was, what he was supposed to do. There were no chinks in the armor.
Right.
So every night, every shot, every situation, every rebound was contested. It was never just that you came in and you just felt that you were just going to beat us and blow us out of the building, even though we were undersized. We didn't have the full hodgepodge of players that most people had, but yet we did play as a unit. I think that Nebraska team has to do that. They have to all help each other rebound. They all have to do all the little things. Be scrappy, get on the floor, take charges, find ways to get extra possessions. If they just do all of those things collectively as a unit, and not worrying about minutes and not worrying about who's scoring what
shots,
and not worrying. If you just play, make the extra play, everything will begin to fill out for you, and you'll win more games, and then everybody will be celebrated.
Let me ask you that then, because I love it. I think that's probably the best way to be successful, especially when you look at the landscape of the Big Ten. Those are how those teams are good. Do you think Nebraska, from what you've seen in practice, has the personnel to kind of elevate themselves? Because, again, I hate bringing up Bryce McGowan because I think he was a great player. I would absolutely love to have him back in Nebraska, but it had to feel like he was the guy, you know? And I'm going into this season, I don't really know if I can officially say there is that guy.
Yeah.
Do you think they have the personnel in the building to be that team?
Sometimes it's good to not have that guy, right? Like, even on our teams back when I was playing, there was a lot of guys. There were games where Tom Wald stepped up and was the guy. Like Michigan State, 3-point. Like, they called his number to take the 3-pointer to win the game. And when you have just not every night somebody that you have to focus on, or that person that you're, is in that scouting report where you're scheming for, your defense is loading to,
what happened last year,
which is like, yes, things open up, because I think that's what makes it even better. You're gonna just have every night where, if everybody is averaging, you have 5-6 guys averaging double figures, one at 10, 2 at 9, one at 11, one at 14, one at 16.
Right.
I mean, if you have that you're a formidable foe. And that's what I'm hoping that this Nebraska team is able to do. Then some nights, some guy will go off. Some nights, some guys will hit,
Right.
Keisei Tamanaga may hit 5 threes and 10 free throws. And, sometimes that'll happen. You'll have those nights. I mean, even with us, there were nights when I'd have 25 or 28. And then there was nights where Teron would go for 21. And then there were nights where Mikey Moore would go for a nice night. Teron would get busy. It wasn't where you could just really focus and hone in on that. And that's what I'm hoping this team's able to do.
What do you think we need to see from this team? Like, I feel like the conversation keeps revolving, and it's so fascinating because there's so many parallels between football and basketball. I think there's a little bit of some differences in expectations and things like that, but like, it hasn't really worked out on the basketball court. And you got rid of a guy like, I'm not going to say Bo Pelini level, because Bo Pelini was winning 8-9 games every year, but like Tim Miles was a formidable coach. Like, he was successful. And I guess in the case that you weren't getting blown out, you were around 500, like you were a good team. What do you think we need to see from Hoiberg then to kind of get to the point where, like, okay, this is headed in the right direction?
Well, it's truly a hot seat. You've definitely got to, it can't be the dismal stuff that you're seeing where you're dang near 1-18 in the Big Ten.
I think they started like 0-12.
Yeah, you can't see that. It can't be nothing of that. It's got to be as if the program now is heading in the right direction. You've changed your coaching. You've changed your defensive scheme. Right. Now they're doing a lot of forcing to the baseline. When I went to practice, they're doing a lot of forcing to the baseline, not letting stuff happen and opening up the middle, letting and getting that help from those big guys down low. One of the things that I saw that was unique is Blaze Keita was taking charges. That's phenomenal.
That's what we need. Yes.
Your big man is stepping in, putting his body on the line and taking charges. Those things are important. And when I'm seeing them making better decisions, those are the things that I want to see. I want to see better decisions in the fast break, better decisions in the open court, not taking challenge shots just because you think you're open and you haven't had a shot. All of those mentalities have to go out the window if you're going to have any success. If you don't see that, then that means that the message is not getting through to the players, because those are things that can be addressed. And then if they're not addressing that, then it's going to be a tough and long season.
I think that's what a lot of fans want to see too, is that grit and just that. That's just how Nebraska needs to win. It's always how Nebraska has won. I mean, you could speak to it too, Strick. Like, that's how you guys won. Like, you had an edge. Like, there was an edge. Like, it feels like that's just kind of lost. Like, I haven't seen Nebraska have that too much.
Edge. And again, in the same thing, in the same like as what we have not seen in so long in football is an identity.
Yes.
It is the exact same thing on the basketball side. As you said coming in, we've seen this. Maybe they wanted to shoot and maybe they wanted to play this style. I mean, it's a bunch of styles that are thrown up against the wall, hoping one sticks. But we want to get back to an identity. Who are we when we walk into the gym? Who are we on Saturday when they walk on the floor on the stadium field with Mickey Joseph as the interim coach? Who is there a change in what you see when that happens. That's what I think would change the whole dynamic, because right now you just don't know what to expect when they show up, other than the fact that you're waiting to see at the 30-minute mark, when are these turnovers gonna happen?
Right.
When is this run, this 10-0, 12-0 run gonna happen? When are they gonna go on this shooting drought? And the same thing in football.
It's a ton of different things.
So all of those things are happening, and those are the things that you've got to change. It's got to be an expectation of, we're going to get it done no matter what. And when the runs happen, we're going to turn it around and we're going to finish off strong.
Dealing with adversity, that's a big part of it. Kelsey says, correction, Bo didn't always win 8 or 9. He always won 9 or 10, even better. That is absolutely better. I just want to give a final breakdown. The Big Ten schedule being released today for Nebraska basketball. Your away games: Indiana, Michigan State, Minnesota, Purdue, Penn State, Maryland, Illinois, Michigan, Rutgers, and Iowa. Home games: Purdue, Iowa, Illinois, Ohio State, Northwestern, Penn State, Wisconsin, Maryland, Minnesota, and Michigan State.
It's ripe for opportunity.
It is. And I like the home games too.
Yeah.
You got a lot of opportunities to show up, especially at home. We got to toss it to break. We're going to get in the guys from Old School. Lots of things to talk about on the football side of things. Definitely fun to talk about basketball there for a second, because it's coming up sooner than we think. But we'll have the guys from Old School up next. You listen on the block.